This is the problem that I didn't do in the video section for the domain and range section of this course. So let's take a look at this problem now. We're going to find out what the domain and range of this graph is, and we are going to figure out whether it's a function or not. So the first thing we're going to do is realize that right here there's an open circle, even though it doesn't kind of look like it, okay? So what we're going to do to figure out the domain, think of it as these have arrows forever and ever, amen, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to think about the x values that can happen. So here I am, I'm on the x-axis, and you can see that this is going to go down forever and ever. So if I extend this axis down, I'm always going to have a y value for every x value here. So the domain starts out at negative infinity. And then notice I have a nice soft round parenthesis here. And then as I'm going out here, the same thing's going to happen. And in here, you're like, what about 0? Well, when x is 0, y is definitely negative 5. It's not 0 because this is an open hole. So the domain is going to go from negative infinity to positive infinity. It's all reals. Now let's take a look at the range. Well, the lowest of the low y values, it goes down forever and ever. So negative infinity. Now, if I think about it, I start looking at the highest of the high. Is it negative 5? Well, no. It's close to 0. Because in here, there's still y values over on this side right over here. So it's definitely going to 0, but 0 isn't included because it's an open circle at 0. So I'm going to do a nice rounded parentheses as opposed to a sawed off one that looks like that. I don't want that one. So now we're going to go on to the next example. This is not in your book, but what I thought I would do is do a couple additional. One last thing is we have to answer whether this is the graph of a function. And if you think about it, this does pass the vertical lines test, so the answer to that is yes. Examples. So here's the next one. This one is similar to one of the ones that you have in the homework. So let's take a look at the domain here. So if I look and you think about it, well, if I extend out this doobie here forever and ever, I'm still going to have x values because these extend up, and so for here, I'm still going to have x values. So the domain is going to go from negative infinity, and the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go to infinity. Okay. Now let's take a look at the range. Well, there's a break in the range right here. Not good, right? So we'll start to break out in a cold sweat. But we're not gonna, because if you think about it, the lowest of the low is going to be negative infinity, and then it stops here at negative 5. And we want to include negative 5. So then it stops for a while, and then it starts up again at 5 and goes on to infinity. And then we put a little u there, means or. Your y values can be in one interval or the other. The next is this a graph of a function? And the answer is no, because it doesn't pass the vertical line test. Okay, so this is the last extra problem that I'm going to do for this section, and I'm hoping that this will help out a lot. So the first one I'm going to answer is this a graph of a function? And I see that it does pass the vertical line test everywhere, even here where this funkadelic thing happens. The definition is when x is 2, the function value is 1, it is not 5 because there's an open circle at 5. So yes, this is the graph of a function. Okay, that piece is done. Now let's take a look at the domain. Well, if I look at the domain is completely cool because I can have very negative numbers, I can have very positive numbers, and it includes the whole spectrum. Even in between 1 and 2, it's defined, because you can see that for every x value between 1 and 2, there is indeed a y value. Now, the range is kind of funky too. The reason and looks are deceiving for this range. If I think about it, for true, I definitely can have negative, really, really negative y values. So I'm really excited. And here, I can have really, really positive y values. And it turns out I have every single y value in between, even the height of 5, which is right here. So I am set. And you're like, well, what about between here and here? Sure, I have y values between 1 and 2. They cover the number 1 through the number 5. We're all excited, and we're going to infinity. So this is a deceiving one, that even though it has a break in it, I still cover every single solitary height. Do I have a height of 3? Absolutely. A height of 4? Absolutely. A height of 5? Yes, it's way over here. A height of 4.9? Yes. A height of 5.1? Right here. So it's all covered. So both the domain and range for this function are all real numbers. So I hope this helps with the assignment for domain and range in this course. Good luck, take care, and have fun with the math.